Hello, I'm Sam Hill, host of How I Came Up, and also known as the Career Change Guru. On this episode, I want to introduce you to Eric Biondo. Eric Biondo is a musician, a comedian, just an all-around entertainer. So, let's get to it. This is How I Came Up.
My name is Eric Biondo, and I'm from Buffalo, New York. Growing up, my dad was a musician, which is, having music around the house is really, it's sort of it's like a primer for what you might do, what you might like. I think everybody that has a parent that plays music, it's always sort of in their realm of, their future, whether it's for fun or whether it's a side job or whether it's working in the church or a community organized relationship with music. And for me, I kind of always had a little of that in my life. And as I got older, I started to lean into it, and become fascinated with it. And my father was an antique dealer. There was always records coming around, tons and tons of vinyl. And, this was before there were iPhones and things like that. So you'd sit down, open up a box of records that were like, 20 years old at the time. Now they're like 60 years old, and start to be curious. And that was really inspiring to me. And I was able to find this relationship with music that led me down this curious path. And I didn't really take it seriously until I got into high school. And in Buffalo, we were very lucky to have really good music programs at the time. And I think it's very important to have education. Music education is just as important as math. It's just as important as science, any of that. And very, very lucky to have, we had a woman named Miss Grabowski and a woman named Linda Appleby, who were just, they were really excellent and gave that space for people to sort of, explore these different things. And I was gravitating towards it because I had, I guess that family sort of, primer, and that's really how it started. And then when I got to high school, I guess, as your identity starts to form and you start to like really, see the bigger picture of like what you can offer and what you're good at. Sports, I wasn't really good at sports. I was, I'm kind of a smaller dude, so I couldn't really do like anything that was going to be crushing, So music was something that I leaned into, and I got to high school, had another great teacher, Floyd Freed, rest in peace. He was a very, encouraging. He listened to all the students. He was generous. He made time. He gave, he went above and beyond his duties, which also gave me more energy to do it. He actually donated a trumpet to me. It was the first trumpet I ever had. That was great. It was like donated to the school, and it was to be given to a student that was showing promise or something like that. So I took that horn, and that was sort of a symbol of my dedication at that point, which I didn't really understand how dedicated I was. It was just a part of my routine, it was my identity. And performing throughout high school and stuff like that, learning about that. And as a just sort of talking about what's changed me and what's a part of me now is, I used to be very, very, I had a lot of anxiety because I always wanted to be the best I could, and it took me a long time to get over that, throughout high school and then into college. where I attended the Eastman School of Music in Rochester, and in a major of jazz and contemporary media. And, you know, just this fascinating curiosity, and I just kept going, you know, kind of taking risks. So it's always been sort of a dream. I mean, to make a living as a musician is not, I mean, there's not one way to do it.
Hi, my name is Shamari James, co-founder and CEO of Equity Now, Inc., nonprofit charter management organization to Legends Charter School. And our mission, we believe in expediting change. So we provide, as a charter management organization, services to Legends Charter School, so every single kid in our school receives a stock portfolio. It's not just enough to grow your wealth, but you also need to sustain your wealth. So we're fundamentally focused on ensuring that we are seeing that there is competency exercise with social and emotional learning within our school and in the communities that we serve. So now that you've seen and heard about Equity Now, Inc., I hope that you're wondering, how can you help? Please visit us at www.equitynowinc.org to support us, to donate to us, to become a partner, or even collaborate. We're also on all social media at Equity Now, Inc. We appreciate you. Look forward to working with you.
Like when I first moved to New York, I was working at Barnes & Noble. You know, I got on a bus with like $700, and I had a friend that had a room. It was like $425 to live that room. And it was horrible. There's roaches everywhere. It was like, it smelled like garbage. It was brutal. But I had this dream, you know, whether I had gotten it from the movies or from, I guess, you know, just listening to jazz and listening to the stories of how New York is like the place to be for music, especially jazz and so much more. But so I started working at Barnes & Noble, just had to get a job, you know. And then I ended up working in, there was actually a guy, I can't remember his name. He was also from Buffalo. And his son was the owner of the franchise office of Subway restaurants, which I didn't know what that meant. It was basically a qualifying office for Subway restaurant owners, so people that were opening up their own chain or their own franchise, whatever it is. But I was in the office doing that, so I had an office job. I had to be on the computer. And then I became a bookkeeper for the Orpheus Chamber Orchestra. See, I'm not even playing my instrument yet. I'm just trying to pay my bills. I mean, I'm playing, but I can't count on my instrument to do that. When I was working at the bookstore, I opened up the Village Voice, which is a magazine that doesn't exist anymore, but it's like, you know, it's like the Gusto or something like that in Buffalo, or whatever the Entertainment Weekly is. And, you know, there were personal ads in there. This was like before the internet, kind of, you know, and there was an advertisement in there to audition for the horn section for the Monkees. And I was like, is that the Monkees, like, you know, the TV show, or is this just some made up stuff? Anyway, I got off of work. I was working a 6 a.m. shift. I didn't even warm up. I went down there. I said, I'll try it anyway, see what happens. And then I got the gig. And then for like the next, whatever, a year and a half or something like that, I was on the road. I was like 22 years old, and I was making a living playing the trumpet, you know, across America and into Europe. And then that ended, you know, it ended. I was back to where I was, you know. I was like, that ended. That money was spent, you know. And then I got a job working in Subway development office, and I was back to square one. So having that flexibility to know that like nothing lasts forever, and be able to sort of have a positive attitude for that. It's like, okay, this is gonna end, and as soon as it ends, you know, being able to pick up and go. One of the big lessons that I learned is, let's say you have a good gig, and then like you get off the road and you're feeling good about your finances because you're like, oh, I just did all this work and I got a little savings and all that. And this is what I did. Like I would come back and then I would take like 2 months off. I wouldn't be working. I would just be trying to create music, and then that money would be gone. And then I'd be, so the advice is always to, as soon as you get off the road, start finding work right away so you can maintain that. You know, that's just something that maybe in your 20s you might do.
If you've been hurt in a car accident, call 716-390-9592. Our lawyers can help you get money. Had your civil rights or contract rights violated, stopped or wrongfully detained by the police? Call us now, 716-390-9592. Got an issue with your landlord or tenant? Call us now, 716-390-9592. Call RHM Consulting, 716-390-9592. That's 716-390-9592.
I'm Rashid H. McDuffie, and I approve this message.
And then I graduated out of that into other bands through friends of friends and networks that I had made. Networking is always the key. Finding your place in places of attraction. Like I met a lot of my musical relationships in bars or at shows, striking up a conversation, or performing at a bar. Just a simple little bar. There was a great bar in New York that led to a lot of connections for me. It was called Zebulon, and me and my friends would play there regularly. And coincidentally, there was a really well-known studio next door with some really well-known producers. One guy named Dave Sitek, and they would record there all the time. And they would come over to the bar, have a drink, and we might be playing, and then they would say, "Hey, do you guys want to come over and record on some of our tracks?" You know, we say, "Yeah, sure." And that led me to play with. I recorded 2 records with TV on the Radio, the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, Passion Pit, Zach De La Roca from Rage Against the Machine, and a handful of other folks through that network. But you know, it's just sort of like being in the right place at the right time sometimes leads to things. And then I started playing. Well, actually, before that, through a friend who I had met going to see somebody play, a man named Jordan McLean needed a sub for a band called Antibalas, which is an Afrobeat band, probably the most popular Afrobeat band out of Brooklyn, and that gave me an opportunity to go back on the road and spend many years on the road and sort of create this new philosophy of life of like, okay, I'm on the road for a couple weeks, or I'm on the road for a month or 2 months, and I come back and I have to have work that I can maintain so that I am not sweating. I guess it was like 2011, you know, once in a while I would like, you know, check out some of these writing competitions and things. Like there's like a lot of licensing and publishing sort of administration companies like BMI, ASCAP and stuff like that. And they had a competition, I guess it was in 2011. And it was to get a song mixed by Kendra Eiffel, who had mixed Beyonce and Alicia Keys and like just his list goes crazy. And so I submitted, you know, I was like, wow, what do I got to lose, you know? And I won. And I was like, this is crazy. So I had this amazing engineer remix my song. You know, that was cool. I currently, which is teaching was always something that I enjoyed to do, but I never really looked at it like something that I could count on in a way that you need a lot of students to sort of make it happen. But over the years, I've been able to cultivate my teaching skills, and it's given me a lot of flexibility, especially with the Zoom stuff. And you can teach from anywhere at any time, and developing that skill, which is another skill, which would be very good to teach people. Even setting up the lighting for this, I mean, it's the experience is so much better for the viewer if if there's nice lighting and a clear sound. And teaching music through the internet currently presents a lot of those challenges. So, but yeah, so the current state is, what I've learned is that you have to navigate, you have to be flexible, and nothing is guaranteed, nothing's set in stone, and you have to be patient, and you have to have a positive attitude no matter how bad it gets, no matter how troublesome the situation might be.
Now we're gonna play a nice card game with some people that we don't even know from another town. They just got here because they were sitting on the street, but they didn't have anywhere to go.
Yeah, I started a comedy show a few years ago, and totally improvised comedy. It's called the Eric and Ed Show. We played music, and we would improvise an entire 45-minute set. So doing that, and I was doing stand-up too, because I like to do that. And so I was doing that, and then recently we did my friend Andrew Green, and I currently play in a band. Well, we don't play any gigs right now, but it's called the Budos Band, and we started a podcast called Brass Balls, and we put out 10 episodes during the pandemic. We had already pre-recorded them. We were just kind of waiting to put them out, and produced by a man named Tommy Brennick, who's famous for his work with Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings and Amy Winehouse and Jay-Z, and he produced it, and it's on all platforms and stuff like that. But that's kind of comedy. It's kind of basically we just crack a few beers and interview trumpet players about their lives. And it's some people think it's really funny. One of the things that does give me strength being so far away from my family all the time is that they always supported me no matter what I did in any shape or form. They never said no. They never said yes. They just sort of let me figure it out. And I appreciate that. My mother and my father and my sister, I mean, I would practice for like 6 hours a day. The drums, the trumpet, I'd listen to music. I mean, I wouldn't say I was like the ideal roommate, because it's not pretty to be practicing all day, and you're only going to get better when you sound like crap. So you can't, and I did, and I do, because that's how you practice. And you have to be in an environment that's supportive of that kind of thing. And also just having a place to do that. You take it for granted, when you're lucky enough to have a place to practice, and you have support. And I'm very lucky in that way that I didn't have to sweat those things. You could get me on Spotify. My handle on Spotify is Biondo, Beyondo, and I have like 300 songs. Well, I have something like that on Spotify. Not as many, but on Bandcamp, that's where I have my entire catalog, which is over 300 songs. My name's Eric Biondo, and this is how it came up.
Radio Red Rocks Red.
This is Addison Henderson.
I'm Danielle Jackson.
It's Ponzo Houdini.
And this is how I came up.
I'm the career change guru, Sam Hill, and host of How I Came Up. This season, we have entertainers, entrepreneurs, and educators. Season 3 of How I Came Up is going to be extraordinary. Now let's get to it. This is How I Came Up.